You won't be needed anymore, Chris. Security will escort you out. Anthony Martinez didn't whisper it. He wanted the whole room to hear. 12 CEOs. Every one of them flew in from a different country. Tokyo, Munich, Oslo, Singapore, Sao Paulo. We're 20 minutes from signing a one-bite $8 billion deal. Pens are out. Contracts ready. And this 35-year-old kid who's been CEO for 15 months decides now is the perfect time to fire me. I'm Christopher Sullivan. I'm 54. I've spent 18 years building this company's international partnerships from nothing. Right now, I'm watching my career get executed in public. But here's what Tony doesn't know. I saw this coming 6 months ago, and the trap I built, he just walked right into it. The words knocked the wind out of me, I'll admit that, but I didn't move. I caught Hiroshi Tanaka's eye across the table, the CEO from Tokyo. He gave me the slightest nod. Not sympathy, recognition. He knew something Tony didn't. 18 years. That's what I gave to Sullivan Strategic Ventures. 18 years of red-eye flights and hotel rooms where room service was cold by the time I could eat it. I missed my son's college graduation for a deal in Zurich nobody else could close. Tommy was 22, walking across that stage, and I was 4,000 miles away arguing over patent clauses with a Swiss manufacturer. My boy didn't talk to me for 18 months after that. Called me once, voice flat as concrete. Mom says you had to work. Always have to work, don't you, Dad? Still doesn't call much. My wife, Sarah, died of cancer 4 years ago. I was in Shanghai when it happened. The call came at 3 a.m. local time. Tommy's voice breaking. Dad, you need to come home now. But there wasn't a now. No direct flights, no miracles. The earliest I could get back was 20 hours. She was gone in 14. I sat in that airport terminal in Pudong, still wearing my negotiation suit, staring at a text from the hospital. Sarah passed peacefully at 11:47 p.m. She asked us to tell you she understood. That one still keeps me up at night. She understood. After 25 years of marriage, she understood that I'd missed the most important moment of our life together for a contract that wouldn't matter to anyone in 5 years. Some prices are too high, even for $1 billion deal. I wasn't just some coordinator shuffling papers. I spoke enough Mandarin to negotiate without an interpreter. Enough German to catch the mistakes that would have cost millions. My engineering degree from Penn State taught me how systems work, how they break, and how to fix them. But my real education came from those late-night handshake deals in steakhouse backrooms, early morning golf games where the real negotiations happened somewhere between the 7th and 9th holes. Klaus Hoffman taught me that. We were playing Pebble Beach 3 years ago, working on a manufacturing deal for Precision Instruments. By the 4th hole, we were talking money. By the 8th, we had the framework. On the 9th tee, he looked out at the Pacific and said, Christopher, Americans think business happens in boardrooms. Germans know it happens where men speak truth. We closed that deal with a handshake on the 18th green. $400 million, no lawyers present. That's the old way. That's my way. Tony Martinez was everything I wasn't. Where I listened, he talked. Where I planned for actual problems, he planned photo ops. The kid had been writing on deals I'd closed long before he learned how to spell memorandum. His Stanford MBA looked impressive on paper, but paper doesn't negotiate with a Taiwanese semiconductor executive who's been insulted by a translation error at 2 a.m. I heard him once in the hallway, didn't think I could hear. He told someone the company needed digital native leadership. That's code. Means I'm too old. Means my 18 years of experience building relationships across 12 time zones doesn't matter because I don't have 50,000 LinkedIn followers and can't create Instagram-worthy content about disruptive synergies. The first time he used that phrase, digital native leadership, it was over coffee in the executive lounge. Casual, testing how far he could push. I didn't react, just nodded, kept drinking my coffee. Inside, I was calculating. You don't survive 18 years in international business without learning to read the currents. The second time was in a budget meeting. Instagram-ready executive dropped into a presentation like my 18 years of handshakes and closed deals had an expiration date stamped on them. Around the table, younger VPs nodded along. Marketing loved it. HR started taking notes. I kept my face neutral, but my engineering brain was already running scenarios. By the third mention, it was investors want under 40 leadership for the new economy. Nobody in the room challenged him. They just looked down at their laptops and pretended they were checking emails. I'd been in this industry long enough to recognize a coup forming. But here's what Tony didn't understand about the old way of doing business. When you build relationships over years, over shared problems and mutual respect, when you've saved someone's company at 3 a.m. with a phone call to the right person in Bangkok, when you've played golf in Scotland rain and closed deals in Mandarin over Maotai, those relationships don't vanish because some kid with an MBA thinks they're outdated. They just go underground, and they wait. What I didn't expect was that Tony wouldn't wait for a clean transition. He wanted spectacle, and he chose his stage carefully. Today wasn't just any meeting. This was the day 12 CEOs from across the globe gathered to sign our biggest partnership ever. 9 time zones represented in one room. $1.8 billion on the table. He knew the cameras would be in the hallway, the assistants on standby, the stakes sky high. He didn't want me quietly replaced in a Monday morning email blast. He wanted my removal to be part of his big moment, his coronation as the new face of international business. 20 minutes before the meeting started, my phone buzzed. Susan Campbell, one of the few assistants I actually trusted. Her text was short. He brought her. She's in the hall waiting. I knew who her was. Patricia Davis, the so-called strategic hire Tony had been grooming to take my place. 32 years old, MBA from Wharton, great at PowerPoint presentations with animated charts and millennial-friendly buzzwords. But I'd seen her in action. She couldn't negotiate her way out of a paper bag if the bag was translated into 3 languages and required understanding cultural nuances that don't show up in business school case studies. I stared at that text for a long moment. The anger came fast, but I didn't show it. After 18 years of keeping my cards close, of reading room dynamics and cultural subtleties, of knowing when to speak and when to listen, you learn control. I adjusted my jacket, reviewed the seating chart one last time, and carried on like nothing had changed. I was fired while hosting 12 CEOs, Part 2. The funny thing about building a company from scratch is you remember every small victory along the way. That first contract in 2007, $200 million deal with a shipping company in Hamburg. I was so nervous I practiced my German pronunciation in the hotel bathroom for 2 hours before the meeting, but I closed it. My first real international deal. Sarah was pregnant with Danny then. She was the one who said I should take the risk, leave my safe engineering job at 36 and chase something bigger. You're too good at solving problems to stay in someone else's cubicle forever. She told me. She was right. Like she was about most things. I wish she could see what that little $2.3 million deal turned into. $2.1 billion in revenue last year. But Sarah never got to see any of it pay off. Cancer took her before she could watch me prove her right. The morning she died, I was 8,000 miles away in a Shanghai conference room, hammering out details on a semiconductor licensing agreement. The call came at 3 a.m. Shanghai time. Danny's voice broken, saying the words I'd been dreading for months. Dad, she's gone. She asked for you, but I caught the next flight out. But 14 hours of travel time doesn't compress when you're desperate. I made it to the hospital 6 hours too late to say goodbye. The worst part, I'd known she was getting worse. The doctors had been clear about the timeline. But I convinced myself I had 1 more week, that this deal couldn't wait. That's the thing about building an empire. You sacrifice everything for the long game, telling yourself it'll all be worth it when you can provide the life your family deserves. But sometimes the long game runs out of time. Danny didn't speak to me for 18 months after the funeral. Not at the service, not during the estate planning, not when I tried to explain why I wasn't there. He was 26 then, old enough to understand that I'd chosen work over being present for the most important moment of our lives, old enough to judge me for it. I don't blame him, I'd judge me too. The guilt ate at me for months. I'd find myself calling her phone just to hear her voicemail message. Hi, you've reached Sarah Sullivan. I can't come to the phone right now, but I must have called that number 200 times before Danny finally had it disconnected. Work became everything after that. Not because I loved it, but because it was the only place where the noise in my head would stop. International negotiations require complete focus. You can't think about empty dinner tables when you're calculating currency fluctuations across 4 time zones. That's probably why I didn't see Tony's coup coming until it was too late to stop it. I was too deep in my grief to notice the political maneuvering happening right under my nose. The signs were there. Tony started showing up to my client, calls uninvited, always with some excuse about strategic oversight or knowledge transfer. He'd position himself where the camera could catch his face during video conferences, jumping in with commentary that added nothing but made him visible to the clients. I should have recognized the pattern. It's the same thing that happened to my old boss at the engineering firm. Young hotshot slowly inserting himself into every important conversation until the original architect becomes irrelevant. But I was too numb to care about office politics. I just wanted to close deals and go home to an empty house. The Munich deal was the turning point. Klaus Hoffmann had been my client for 8 years. We'd done 12 deals together. Everything from small component licensing to major manufacturing partnerships. When his company needed a $400 million technology transfer agreement, he called me directly. Didn't go through channels, didn't involve the sales team. Just picked up the phone and said, "Chris, we need to talk." That's the kind of relationship you build over golf games and late-night dinners where you're not talking business at all. You're talking about your kids, your wife's garden, the book you both read. Klaus knew about Sarah's illness, sent flowers to the funeral, checked in on me during the worst months. But 3 days before the signing, we hit a snag. The penalty clause had been mistranslated. In German, the difference between Vertragsstrafe and Schadenersatz is crucial. One means a fixed penalty fee, the other means actual damages. The translation firm had used the wrong term, which would have exposed Klaus's company to unlimited liability. I caught it at 11 p.m. the night before closing, sitting in my hotel room in Munich, reviewing documents for the 10th time because I couldn't sleep. If we'd signed with that error, Klaus's company could have been on the hook for hundreds of millions in damages if anything went wrong. I called Klaus at midnight, woke him up, spent 40 minutes walking through the legal implications in German and English until he understood the problem. We pulled an all-nighter with both legal teams, got the language fixed, and signed the corrected version at 9 a.m. Klaus pulled me aside after the signing. "This is why we work with you, Chris. 20 different people reviewed these documents. You were the only one who caught this. You just saved my company from potential bankruptcy." That deal put me in line for promotion to Senior VP of International Relations. Should have been the highlight of my career. Instead, Tony took the stage 3 months later to accept the Excellence in International Partnership Award for his successful management of the Munich project. I sat in the back row watching him thank his amazing team without mentioning my name once. The audience applauded his innovative approach to complex negotiations. Nobody knew that his innovative approach consisted of showing up to the signing ceremony and shaking hands. That night, I made the decision that eventually saved my career. I started documenting everything. Every client relationship, every deal structure, every legal safeguard I'd put in place over 18 years. I created what I privately called my insurance policy. The diplomatic clause was just one part of it. I also started requiring my personal approval on all final contract signatures, backed up by that encrypted token system. If anyone tried to bypass me, the contracts would be legally invalid and my personal attorney would be automatically notified. I told myself I was protecting the company from fraud, but really I was protecting myself from Tony. The client relationships were the real insurance, though. When you've saved someone from bankruptcy, they remember that. When you've spent 8 years building trust over whiskey and golf games, that's not something you can transfer to your replacement with a PowerPoint presentation. Hiroshi Tanaka once told me, in Japan we have a saying, "The bamboo that bends survives the storm." You have bent with many storms, Chris-san. That is why we trust you with our most important business. That trust isn't something you earn with Instagram followers or LinkedIn posts. You earn it by catching mistakes at midnight, by learning to say good morning in 6 different languages, by remembering that Klaus's daughter just graduated medical school and Hiroshi's son is getting married in October. Tony never understood that. He thought business relationships were about efficiency metrics and quarterly targets. He measured success in PowerPoint slides and profit margins. I measured it in handshakes and trust that took years to build. When those 12 CEOs walked out of the Metropolitan Conference Center that day, they weren't just rejecting Tony's leadership. They were protecting an investment they'd made in me over nearly 2 decades. That's the difference between building something and inheriting something. I built those relationships one conversation at a time, one crisis solved, one promise kept. Tony inherited a company and thought he could run it like a startup. He learned the difference the hard way. 3 months later, when I signed the papers to launch Sullivan International Group, I had a client list that most international consulting firms would kill for. Not because I stole them from my old company, but because they followed me. When trust walks out the door, the business follows. Sometimes the old guard wins because we remember what business was like when your word actually meant something. I was fired while hosting 12 CEOs. Part 3, the first 48 hours after the Metropolitan Conference Center disaster were chaos for everyone except me. I knew exactly what was coming because I'd seen it before, just from the other side. Tony spent those 48 hours in damage control mode. Emergency board meetings, crisis management consultants, PR firms spinning the story as a strategic leadership transition instead of what it really was, a public execution that backfired spectacularly. Meanwhile, I spent those 48 hours in my home office fielding calls from CEOs who wanted to make sure I was okay and that we could still work together. Not as Sullivan Strategic Ventures International Director, but as an independent consultant. The difference in our weekends pretty much summed up our entire careers. By Monday morning, Tony's assistant was calling me, not Tony himself, mind you, his assistant. Professional courtesy apparently didn't extend to personal phone calls when your career was imploding. Mr. Martinez would like to schedule a meeting to discuss the transition, she said. Her voice was strained. Poor girl was probably getting screamed at hourly. Tell Mr. Martinez that my consulting rate is $500 per hour with a 4-hour minimum, I said. If he wants to discuss anything related to my clients or my deals, that conversation happens on my terms now. She stammered something about internal discussions and company business, but I cut her off. Those aren't company relationships anymore, they're my relationships. If Tony wants access to my contacts or my knowledge, he can pay for it like any other client. That was the moment I knew I had him. When someone who just fired you is calling to ask for help, you hold all the cards. He never called back. Instead, the company's legal team reached out 3 days later with a formal letter about intellectual property and non-compete agreements. Standard intimidation tactics designed to scare employees into compliance. I forwarded the letter to Angela Miller, the attorney who'd helped me design the encrypted signature system. She laughed when she called me back. Chris, they're threatening to sue you for taking relationships that you built before most of these people were born. It's like threatening to sue a chef for knowing how to cook. Can they make any of it stick? Not a chance. Business relationships aren't intellectual property. They're personal property. Besides, your non-compete agreement expired 2 years ago when they restructured your contract. Tony's legal team is either incompetent or desperate. Probably both. That's when I knew I was free to move forward with my own plans. Setting up Sullivan International Group took 6 weeks. Would have taken longer, but Klaus Hoffmann connected me with his corporate law firm in Munich, and Hiroshi Tanaka introduced me to a business formation specialist in Singapore. When you have clients like that, bureaucracy moves faster. The funding came from an unexpected source. Arjun Patel, the CEO from Singapore I'd been working with for 12 years, made an offer I couldn't refuse. Chris, we've been looking for a boutique consulting firm to handle our North American expansion. Someone who understands both sides of the Pacific. If you're interested, we'd like to be your first major client. $50 million over 3 years, plus equity partnership in any deals you bring us. $50 million. My entire salary at Sullivan Strategic Ventures for the past 18 years combined was less than that. That's extremely generous, Arjun. It's business. You saved us $200 million on that Shanghai deal in 2019. We remember our friends, that Shanghai deal, I'd almost forgotten about it. We were 6 hours from walking away because of a dispute over licensing terms. The Chinese manufacturer wanted exclusive rights to our semiconductor design, which would have locked Arjun's company out of the European market entirely. I spent the night researching Chinese corporate law, found a precedent from a similar case in 2017, and drafted alternative language that gave them exclusive rights in China while preserving Arjun's European options. Both sides were happy. Deal closed. Everyone made money. That's what 18 years of experience looks like. Not flashy PowerPoint slides about synergistic paradigm shifts, just knowing where to look when everyone else is stuck. Within 2 months, I had 8 employees and a waiting list of potential clients. Klaus brought me a 200 million euros in Klaus. Hiroshi introduced me to 3 Japanese firms looking for American partners. Rafael Costa from Sao Paulo flew to Chicago specifically to discuss a $300 million infrastructure project. The office space came together faster than I'd expected. Corner suite on the 45th floor of a building overlooking the harbor. The same view I used to stare at from Sullivan Strategic Ventures, except now the nameplate on the door read Christopher Sullivan, CEO instead of Director of International Relations. The best part was hiring my own team. I could finally work with people who understood that business relationships are built on trust, not algorithms. My first hire was Patricia Wong, a 15-year veteran of international contract law who'd been passed over for promotion at her old firm because she was too focused on detail work. Detail work. That's exactly what I needed. Someone who would catch mistranslations at midnight and save companies from bankruptcy. My second hire was Michael Rodriguez, 28 years old, fresh out of his MBA program, fluent in Spanish and Portuguese. The kid reminded me of myself at that age. Hungry, willing to work 16-hour days, smart enough to know that speaking the client's language meant more than just knowing the words. "Why did you leave your old job to work for a startup?" I asked him during the interview. "Because startups are where you learn the business," he said. "Big corporations are where you learn politics. I'd rather learn business, smart kid." I hired him on the spot. The revenge part wasn't planned. It just happened naturally when you build something better than what you left behind. Tony's company started losing clients within 6 months. Not because I stole them, but because without me there to maintain those relationships, they fell apart on their own. International business is personal business. When the person who built the relationship is gone, the trust goes with them. I heard through industry channels that Tony was struggling to close deals I'd put together before I left. The Jakarta partnership fell through because he couldn't explain the currency hedging strategy. The Berlin manufacturing deal collapsed when he showed up to the final meeting without speaking a word of German. The Munich project with Klaus? Tony flew to Germany expecting to discuss expansion plans. Klaus spent 15 minutes with him and then called me. "Your replacement doesn't understand our business," Klaus said. "He keeps talking about digital transformation and disruptive innovation." "We make precision machinery, Chris. We need precision thinking." That precision thinking became my competitive advantage. While Tony was chasing the latest business school buzzwords, I was solving actual problems for real companies with real money. The irony wasn't lost on me. Tony had fired me to make room for innovative leadership. But innovation without foundation is just expensive chaos. I'd spent 18 years building the foundation. He'd spent 15 months trying to innovate on top of something he didn't understand. By the end of my first year as CEO, Sullivan International Group had revenue of $180 million. Sullivan Strategic Ventures, the company I'd helped build, was down 40% from the previous year. The business press started calling it the Sullivan effect. When experienced professionals leave large corporations to start their own firms, they often take their relationships with them. It's not corporate espionage, it's just business. Trust follows competence, always has, always will. The personal vindication felt good, but the professional vindication felt better. I wasn't just proving Tony wrong. I was proving that experience still matters in a world obsessed with youth and disruption. Sometimes the best revenge is simply being better at what you do than the person who replaced you. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you get to do it with a harbor view from the 45th floor. I was fired while hosting 12 CEOs Part 4. The call that changed everything came on a Tuesday morning in March, exactly 11 months after the Metropolitan Conference Center disaster. I was reviewing contracts for a new partnership with a German automotive supplier when my assistant knocked on the office door. "Mr. Sullivan, your son is on line 1. Danny hadn't called me at work in over 2 years. My heart jumped to the worst possible conclusion. "Dad," his voice was different, softer than I remembered. "Danny, what's wrong? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Dad. Actually, I'm calling with good news. Jessica and I are engaged." Jessica, the girl he'd been dating for 3 years, the one he'd mentioned maybe twice in our awkward monthly phone calls. The one I'd never met because our relationship had been too broken for family dinners and introductions. "That's wonderful, son. Congratulations. Thanks. We're planning the wedding for next spring. And Dad, I want you to walk her down the aisle." The words hit me harder than Tony's public firing ever had. For 4 years, I'd convinced myself that the damage between us was permanent, that I'd traded my relationship with my son for a career that ultimately got me fired anyway. "Are you sure about that, Danny?" "I'm sure. Look, I know things have been difficult between us since Mom died. I blamed you for a lot of things that maybe weren't entirely your fault. But watching you build your own company this past year, seeing you create something from nothing, I'm proud of you, Dad." I had to put the phone on mute for 30 seconds to collect myself. In all my planning for revenge against Tony, I'd never imagined that the real victory would sound like my son's voice saying he was proud of me. I'd be honored to walk Jessica down the aisle, I managed. There's something else. The wedding is going to be expensive. Jessica's family is big, and we want to do this right. I was wondering if you might be able to help with some of the costs. I know money's been tight since you left Sullivan Strategic, and I don't want to put pressure on you. He had no idea. In his mind, I was probably struggling financially after getting fired at 54. He didn't know that my first-year revenue had exceeded my previous salary by 400%. Danny, money won't be a problem. Whatever you need for the wedding, consider it handled. Dad, I can't ask you to spend a fortune on this. You're not asking. I'm offering. Your mother always dreamed of planning your wedding. She had notebooks full of ideas from when you were still in high school. If I can't give her that experience, at least I can make sure you get the wedding she would have wanted for you. We talked for another hour. About Jessica, about the business, about Sarah's old notebooks that I'd never thrown away. It was the longest conversation we'd had since the funeral. After I hung up, I sat in my office staring out at the harbor, thinking about the price of ambition. For 18 years, I'd built my career on the foundation of personal sacrifice. Missed dinners, missed graduations, missed final moments with the people who mattered most. But sitting there in my corner office, CEO of a company that bore my name with the financial resources to give my son the wedding of his dreams, I realized something. The sacrifice had been worth it, just not in the way I'd originally planned. I hadn't built Sullivan Strategic Ventures for Tony to inherit. I'd built the experience and relationships that let me create something better when I needed it most. The wedding planning became a bridge back to the son I'd almost lost. Danny and Jessica would drive up from the city on weekends, spread venue brochures across my dining room table, debate flowers and music and catering options. Jessica was everything Sarah would have loved in a daughter-in-law. Smart, funny, patient with Danny's tendency to overthink everything, and kind enough to include me in conversations about traditions and family dynamics.
Mr.
Sullivan, she said one Saturday afternoon while Danny was outside taking a work call. Danny told me about your wife's wedding notebooks. Would it be okay if I looked through them? I'd love to incorporate some of her ideas into our planning. I brought out the 3 notebooks Sarah had filled with wedding plans over the years. Flower arrangements, menu ideas, venue sketches, even fabric samples she'd collected. Jessica spent 2 hours going through every page, asking questions about Sarah's reasoning behind each choice. She had incredible taste, Jessica said, and she really understood what makes a wedding memorable. Look at this note. The details people remember aren't the expensive ones. They're the personal ones. That was Sarah, always focused on what mattered instead of what impressed. We ended up using her color scheme, her flower arrangements, and her idea for a memory table with photos of family members who couldn't be there. The wedding became a celebration of new beginnings built on the foundation of what we'd learned from loss. The venue was the Fairmont Chicago, the same hotel where I'd closed my first major international deal 17 years earlier, full circle in more ways than one. 200 guests, including Klaus Hoffmann, who flew in from Munich specifically for the wedding. Hiroshi Tanaka sent a traditional Japanese gift set with a handwritten note about the importance of family legacy. Even Arjun Patel attended, bringing his wife and daughter from Singapore. Watching my son marry the woman he loved, surrounded by the relationships I'd built over 2 decades of international business, I understood something about success that I'd missed for most of my career. Building a company isn't about the quarterly numbers or the market share or even the revenue milestones. It's about creating something sustainable enough to survive your mistakes and flexible enough to adapt when everything falls apart. When I walked Jessica down the aisle, I wasn't just fulfilling a father's duty. I was completing a circle that started 18 years earlier when Sarah pushed me to leave engineering and chase something bigger. The business success had been gratifying. The personal vindication had been satisfying, but watching Danny's face when he saw his bride walking toward him, knowing that I had the resources and the relationships and the time to make this moment everything his mother would have wanted, that was victory. After the reception, Danny pulled me aside. Dad, I know I never said this properly, but I'm sorry for the way I treated you after Mom died. I was angry and grieving, and I needed someone to blame, but you didn't deserve that. You don't need to apologize, Danny. I made choices that cost us both something important. I'm just grateful we found our way back to each other. We did, and Dad, Mom would be proud of what you built. Not just the company, but this whole second act. She always said you were too stubborn to stay down for long. The next Monday, I was back in my office reviewing expansion plans for Sullivan International Group. We were on track to hit $300 million in revenue by year 3. The waiting list of potential clients was 6 months long. I had offers to open offices in London, Munich, and Singapore. Tony Martinez, meanwhile, had been quietly let go from Sullivan Strategic Ventures 8 weeks earlier. Word was he'd taken a position with a mid-sized consulting firm in Chicago, reporting to a 55-year-old managing director who'd built his career the old-fashioned way. I didn't feel vindicated when I heard the news. I felt nothing at all. Tony had become irrelevant to my story the moment I walked out of the Metropolitan Conference Center. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemy. It's building something so much better that your enemy becomes a footnote in your success story. The old guard wins when we remember what business was really about before it became about PowerPoint slides and LinkedIn followers. It's about relationships. It's about trust. It's about being there when it matters. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it's about getting a second chance to be the father you should have been all along. The real victory isn't proving your enemies wrong. It's building something so meaningful that their opinions become irrelevant to your happiness. Success isn't measured by how far you climb, but by how many people you can bring with you when you reach the top.